Here from Fox 11, I'm Alex Michelson with Christine Devine. You're looking live at pictures of yet another day of demonstrations in the streets of downtown Los Angeles. A lot of this driven originally by concerns about ICE and immigration policy from the Trump administration. Much of it we've seen, though, are anarchists who are just trying to create problems. It's now 4 o'clock. Usually in this time slot, we would be airing TMZ Live, which I actually filled in on today, but that show is being preempted for our live newscast. I'll post that TMZ Live episode later if you want to check that out on my YouTube page. But Christine, we're looking once again in downtown Los Angeles right now.
You're not sure about this activity here with this lone group of protesters or people that arrived there on the scene. What's going on with that? Interesting, looks like some kind of confrontation, or they're detaining this person or working or talking with this person. Anyway, watching a scene here play out in downtown. Again, we have these protests that have happened downtown, which were scheduled for today. It is Monday, a new day after quite a wild weekend here in Southern California. This is day 4 after those immigration and ICE raids that were happening in different parts of Southern California. Okay, it looks like police there came to rescue this person. You have somebody with a police helmet there. You see the baton. Looks like they were in there to either rescue this person from the crowd.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're backing that crowd up. They're backing that crowd up. So don't know if a crowd of agitators were pulling somebody inside or detaining them or cornering them or trying to, somehow they were not happy with this person, it seems, or somehow law enforcement wants to talk to this person there, but they separated this person here from that crowd, and it was getting a little agitated there. And you can see police in formation there to keep that crowd back.
Yeah, and you see somebody with an American flag there. You see somebody wearing a helmet, you know, and look, we've seen these scenes over and over again. People are tense, and a lot of folks are just inflamed. And, you know, it seems like the whole city, or at least this portion of the city, needs to take a deep breath. But, you know, sometimes a mob mentality can take over, and you see people with their cameras in front of the law enforcement and screaming at them and documenting this and everything. And you know, you wonder what's happening on the ground there. So let's, you know, and now this becomes a whole thing.
So something happened with this person and the group in the crowd there that they somehow got him isolated into a situation where police moved in to get him out of their way. Now, for some reason, he's being allowed to address this crowd there, or he is speaking to this crowd here. Not a lot of officers there as the crowd is gathering, as people do, with their cameras, trying to document really everything that is happening. It's a bizarre situation. Not sure which side is which, Alex, on this one.
Yeah.
And why this person continues to speak back at the crowd there while being protected by police.
Yeah. It is a bizarre situation, so hopefully we can kind of get some more sense of what exactly is going on there. Meanwhile, we have our reporter, Christina Gonzalez, who is on the ground in a different location. Christina, as we see you for the first time, where are you and what are you seeing?
Well, let me show you what's happening. This is the Los Angeles side of the federal building, right across from what you were looking at. Let me just have the camera show you. Now, I want to emphasize, a lot of these people came from a very large rally earlier at Grant Park, SEIU rally asking for the release of Huerta, who has been released. Some of these other people were young students who have been out here all morning, and they had been also rallying. In the last couple of hours, some of those groups have joined, some of the people who were at Olvera. And again, to place it, this is the Los Angeles side of the federal building. And what has happened is they were rallying. All of a sudden, these officers that you see who are with the National Guard came out to the front and they started blocking the doors. Now, I have to emphasize, I have not seen in any way, shape, or form anyone in this crowd trying to do anything like come near those doors or anything. So at this point, it's kind of, they're standing there and the people are on this side. We got a crowd of about maybe 150, 200 people. Some of them are coming back and forth from the other side, which is the Alameda and Aliso, where there's also a very large crowd. Now, what I will tell you, since we have been here all day, LAPD is being backed up. They've got officers backed up. They've got officers here from Ventura, from Montebello. I mean, they brought in officers from all over the place, which they have placed to secure the perimeter of this location and to, in their minds and in their own words, maintain peace with the crowd. At this point, we have seen little skirmishes, people getting into arguments with one another, but truly, I have to say it has been very peaceful. And most of the people who are here are telling us that's the way they want it to be. But you know what? There's so much anger. There is such, I mean, it's palpable. The people here are not, the people in front of me are not out of nowhere. These are not the troublemakers that, you know, sometimes we'll see a protest, kids at the end of a protest. No, this is not what this is. Every one of those people holding a Mexican flag came from the other rally. And every one of those people possibly has a story. Many of them we spoke to telling us about family members they're afraid for, or family members that they can't get in contact with. So there's a palpable sense of anger that has to be acknowledged. Whatever you think, whatever side you believe to be on, these people have a right to be upset because their lives in their minds are being completely turned upside down. These are people who have family members who've been here 30 years. 25 years, who've had jobs, who've bought houses, and suddenly they're wondering if they're going to be deported to countries they haven't been to in many years. So that's why you see so many flags other than the Mexican flag. You're going to see Brazil's over there. You see Panama and Argentina. So they have this point of view, and to that effect, there's a lot of other people who are not Mexicans, who are Anglos, who are also out here. You have a large contingent, Black Lives Matter people were out here earlier. So there's a lot of support for that because what they were told, many of them, is, oh, we're going after criminals. And honestly, they're not seeing that. They're seeing working people get arrested. The water that you just saw thrown at us is not a projectile being thrown at us. It's actually a very nice man trying to get cold water to the people who have been up here. So let's just separate. No, we're not being bombarded with cold water. That has happened. Last night you saw some of the stuff that happens, and we'll see what happens tonight. At this point, there is more law enforcement here that I have seen in the last 2 days. That I have to see. Yeah. And now we have the element of the National Guard, which is what you see in front of you, who are not here, by the way, to support LAPD necessarily. They're here to guard the federal building, which is what you're looking at. And they've made that very clear to us. So keep that in mind. We'll see how it develops. But at this point, there's a lot of anger. No question about it. But at this point, it's peaceful so far. But do not come downtown if you don't want to get involved with this, because the streets are going to be blocked off and you're going to get caught up in this, and it's not pleasant. You don't need to do that.
Christina.
So live in downtown Los Angeles, so far so good. Yes.
Yeah, so you talked real briefly, but just want to let people know, you said Huerta. That's David Huerta, who is the president of the SEIU, who was taken into custody the other day, which was a huge sort of rallying cry for a lot of the folks out there and a lot of Democratic leaders. You think of the SEIU, one of the most important fundraising tools for Democratic Party politics in California. Many of the leaders knew him. I know high-profile folks like Senator Adam Schiff and Assemblyman Isaac Bryan, others were in that hearing today showing their support for David Huerta. Can you talk about what you know about that hearing and what happened with him today?
The hearing, I was not at the hearing because I've been outside keeping an eye on these things. But I know there was a large group standing on the other side of the building where they were waiting for some word on it. And as we came back up, people literally were so happy. They were screaming, Huerta has been freed. Huerta is being freed. At that point, I asked one of the people from the courthouse who was outside, is that so? And they said, yes. Now, the details of how or what is going on, I do understand we have a camera and a crew waiting to get some statements. I think Schiff is actually over in the courthouse with him. But supposedly what we're hearing on the ground is that David Huerta has been freed. Keep in mind, the rally this morning had close to 1,000 people, all screaming together, free him, free Huerta. So with that going on, there's almost a lot of pressure. And you saw, because he was arrested in front of cameras.
Christina?
And it was a very visual arrest. So yes, that is what we're hearing from down here. You might know from your end.
We do. Yes, you're right. There was a video of him, a live shot of him where he has been released. It seemed quite emotional, making some comments about that. So your information is indeed correct. As we are watching this here, you note the peaceful nature of the protest and the people who are out there truly there to talk about immigration, voice their concerns about what's happening in this country regarding immigration. It was has declared a tactical alert. So, Christina, what are you seeing when it comes to LAPD out there?
All right, on the other side of this building, and I don't know if we have a helicopter shot because that's the best way probably to explain this to you. Keep in mind that on the other side, which is Alameda, where you have been seeing for the last 2 days, that's where I was Friday, for example, where the main in-your-face type of stuff has been happening. What they have done there is they have literally blocked the street with law enforcement vehicles. Literally. Now, aside from LAPD, who is concentrating on the street side, I don't know if you can see it from the air because I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
You can, yes.
But then they have the National Guard that is blocking all the entrance to the parking lots. That is where Friday we were looking at the vehicles carrying people who had been arrested in the raids being carried in and people trying to stop them. So that's where they have placed the National Guard people. Now, if you look on the other side, cornering the Alameda side, you're going to see Aliso. Aliso is a street that borders a freeway. And you will see that CHP, which has brought in, I was told by one of the commanders there, close to 400 extra people. They're concentrating on trying to stop anyone from getting on the freeway, especially as we approach rush hour traffic. Now, they're not closing the freeway as far as I know when I left there. Keep in mind, a lot of people continued coming to work. I mean, courts were open. People had to come to court and do what they had to do, and they were able to do that. But in terms of the businesses, for example, a lot of them did not open. Not even, I stopped at the cathedral, even their gift shop closed down. I mean, nothing around this area was open. So traffic coming in was a lot lighter. So you're not going to have probably, hopefully, the kind of traffic you would have on a Monday afternoon at rush hour, and that might help the situation, because honestly, you know, you don't want people caught in this situation, which is why I'm saying don't drive in here if you don't have to. A lot of people try to leave early. A lot of people were trying to just get out of the way in expectation of what's going to happen today, because I think there is a sense that after the last 3 days and all the politics involved with this, that today is the day where LAPD and the local law enforcement is going to have to prove that they can keep things under control. The whole country's watching us. The whole world is watching us. Yep. I am getting text messages from people everywhere. They have this image that all of LA is burning or something. Right. It is not. Obviously, these are very specific areas that are affected, but they're watching. And what Trump is claiming is that this is all out of control. So it behooves LAPD, CHP, and the local law enforcement to show it isn't. And that's very important today, because today is the day that after the weekend people are watching and saying what's going on. And everybody's very conscious of that.
Yeah, and that's interesting, Christina, because we had LA Mayor Karen Bass on with us last night live at our 10 o'clock news, and she made that very point that the protesters if you're really, really interested in sending a message to the Trump administration that their immigration policy is bad, the absolute last thing that you should be doing is violence. Because all that does is feed into the narrative that our immigration system is out of control, even though some of those people aren't even immigrants that are doing it. And it feeds into his narrative that you need the National Guard and you need all this lawlessness, and that's something they don't think is true. So the way to disprove that is to show that there is law and order in the streets of Southern California. That was her plea to people, and we'll see if they listen to that today.
Yeah, I mean, I will say every leader in the rallies, there was a big message going out telling people, listen, we know this is hard, but stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. Don't let them paint us as to what we're not. And that has been a big push today. And we're seeing it, and we'll see what happens. Because honestly, the majority of these crowds are not involved in the things that you see. They really are not. And at least not from my perspective. That's not what I have seen. Yes, I have seen troublemakers, and I have seen also really angry people get in trouble. But again, that's not the majority of these people. But right now, this is a very important moment in history that we are looking at for many reasons. Look, how many riots, how many insurrections have I covered in the last 40 years in Los Angeles? And I dare say, yes, we don't have what happened 92, 93, where so many people died, thank God, and half the city was burning down. But this image right now that is going out is very important. We did not have social media back then. The world is watching everything that is done here. And they know that. So they know they need to put that out there. The question is, will they be able to when the tempers get hot? And it happens. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see and step back and hopefully, you know, people listen. And if things happen, it's nothing major, because the worst thing that could happen with this, beyond anything, is that anybody gets hurt.
Right.
On either side. Nobody. Everybody wants to go home at the end of the day.
This shot,
we're all
Christina,
human beings. Those officers there, we are, you know?
We're looking right now at the very part of the freeway that was shut down yesterday, where those CHP cars were stuck. One was burned. Now you have this staging here of law enforcement officers right there. And that wider shot, you could see they were actually on top of that overpass where the crowd had gathered. People throwing those rocks and scooters down onto law enforcement vehicles. So right now you're looking at the 101 freeway, wide open to traffic, wide open to Angelenos, and law enforcement really is occupying that part of the overpass where protesters were so violent yesterday. And there you see that crowd there of protesters, a much, much smaller group yesterday, but also, Christina,
it's the work day, too.
It's a work day, correct. But also the different picture is those National Guards people there that are in front of the crowd. And you could see the woman in white there in the very, very front trying to talk at them or with them. And one of the members of the National Guard was talking back with some of them in the front.
The point, Christina, I think you made about social media is such an interesting point, because you know, the news has been accused of the phrase, you know, if it bleeds, it leads. Basically, we oftentimes will see the most sensationalistic images because that's what viewers want to see, and that's what happens. It's sort of human nature. And that's multiplied like 10x on social media, where you get even shorter clips of stuff, which really doesn't have nuance. And some of it is AI generated at this time. And when you're scrolling through a feed, you know, you only see oftentimes the images of the fires and the craziness and everything. And to the point that most of the country does think that like all of LA is on fire. And the reality is there's a few small pockets that have had some real problems. And the overwhelming majority of the city is business as usual today. But that image doesn't get out there. Right? I saw so many comments, and Christine, I'll bring in a second, that said, I haven't seen any images of peaceful protest. And it's like, because on your feed, your algorithm is not giving you any images of peaceful protest, because most people don't want to see those images. What they want to see is the stuff that makes them angry. And that's not what you're looking at right now, a bunch of people holding flags quietly. It's all those images of all the destruction.
And that's why I wanted to give you this perspective point, because sometimes when we're inside the crowd, it looks like it's a lot crazier than it is. And sometimes we want to be inside the crowd to talk to people and so forth. But when you step back a little bit, and in this vantage point that we can give you, you know, you can see what is happening. Now, yes, there are people screaming at the officers, and it's interesting. When I got here this morning and I walked from the cathedral all around to LAPD headquarters, I was looking at some of the damage, and I was talking to some of the officers, you know, I was asking one of them, and he didn't want to go on camera. They can't. I said, you know, you're from this community, and he happened to be Latino. And I said, how do you feel when you see this happening in front of you as an officer? And, you know, he looked at me and goes, you know, if people knew how hard it is. And that doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it wrong, but I think sometimes we forget that at the end of it, we are all human beings.
Right.
And that gets lost when things get pushed forward for political reasons and social media feeds and whatever. And I am a victim of that. I was looking at all of it last night. I just don't, you know, I got to step back and just not look at it for a while and remind myself, you know, for every horrible thing we see, I see a wonderful human being out here doing something wonderful.
Well,
but that's my way of dealing with it.
Yeah, you make a point.
Everybody has their way of dealing with it, but we can go down a rabbit hole that is really dangerous, especially if we are the people who are supposed to be bearing witness. You know, it is not my job to tell the story. It is my job to allow the people to tell their story. You know, and sometimes people don't like me because of that, and sometimes they do, and that's okay. But that's what we are all trying to do, respectfully, as much as we can. And this is why it's important to step back sometimes and just let it see. Now, if something happens, we're here. We try to put context on it. But everybody who's just watching their social media feed, you're getting an algorithm. You're right, Alex, of what you see, and it's going to be usually the worst stuff about people.
Yeah.
So let
And
us
that's
note
sad,
that,
because that's not necessarily what that doesn't mean that there's no trouble. You know what? There were some really troublemakers in the last 2 nights that have created some problems. But I've seen much worse damage downtown.
So
I can say that.
We'll sum up
we'll
what
see.
you're
We have to
saying
put it in
here.
perspective.
Yeah, we'll sum up what you're showing us right here, which is that peaceful protest in front of the federal building. Law enforcement very present there. Actually, even on the wider shot, a lot of law enforcement present there. We do have sound from David Huerta, the SEIU president, who was taken into custody during one of the pursuits here. He was arrested. He is now out on bond, and he gave a quick interview to the media. Let's listen in to see what he had to say.
Real quick. It was, so I just want to say that when we're here and there's protests outside, that means in there, they're in lockdown right now. They're in lockdown. They cannot come out of their cells. Not even to eat. They cannot come out.
Hey, stop that. Who's saying?
The detainees. They cannot come out. So while this is happening, they cannot come out. There's also the risk, they also cannot see their lawyers. And to a certain extent, they cannot also do court hearings that are so important. Because had I not had my court hearing today, I would be standing here today. Justice we will have our time for justice, but we must do it in a way that we demonstrate the power of working together across this country and stand united against.
Hey, David. Let's keep going.
That's David Huerta, the SEIU president, who is now out on bond, but still has more legal fight ahead. He was part of an effort to, while ICE was doing its job, the law enforcement says he got in the way, and they're charging him with conspiracy to impede an officer in connection with alleged actions during that immigration raid. And so out on $50,000 bond, and as part of the condition for that, he cannot knowingly be within 100 yards of federal agents or operations. But we know he's got a big voice and a lot of people who are big supporters of him, and one of the most influential labor unions of all. And he has fought so many times for others, and now a lot of people are coming to fight for him. He's really become a symbol in this fight. David Huerta now free for now as his legal fight continues.
And that prompted his being in custody and arrested prompted today's rally. And you see this is probably a lot of the spillover crowd from Grand Park there now at that federal building there. And Christina Gonzalez has been going live for almost a half an hour for us right here. And we've seen no real commotion here. We've seen no true unrest here. We've seen the crowd peacefully standing there. You can see that they are talking or yelling or trying to communicate something to the officers there as well. But it's been, as Christina Gonzalez has said, a peaceful protest. We should remind you, though, in the wider shot, you can see a whole lot of LAPD officers and their vehicles not too far from this scene, almost as if there are, if not more officers, quite an abundance of officers compared to the amount of people at this protest.
An interesting note just coming out on X from the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who just put out that I was just informed that Trump, the president, is deploying another 2,000 guard troops to LA. The first 2,000, he says, were given no food or water. Only approximately 300 are deployed. The rest are sitting unused in federal buildings without orders. This isn't about public safety. It's about stoking a dangerous president's ego. This is reckless, pointless, and disrespectful to our troops. Obviously, that's his perspective. We know the White House has a different perspective, but he has spent much of the day highlighting pictures and news reporting of some of the conditions that some of these troops have been in because there wasn't more of a plan sort of getting them ready for this, that some been on the floor and sleeping on the floor, not had a lot of space, and so he's been pointing that out. But that would be some news. Haven't had that officially come out from the White House, but an idea of 2,000 more guard troops would be something new.
As we watch this, a reminder about the David Huerta case, the SEIU president who has been released today after a hearing. And he talked about he got a hearing and noticed that other people who are being detained are still waiting for their hearings. And he said they are in cells and can't get out. He also said to reporters that he did not intend to get arrested, that he is an advocate. Oh, okay, the crowd's moving. Something's happening here. Something's happening here. The crowd is moving.
What just happened?
Who knows if somebody threw something.
This is how quickly it can change, right?
Right. I was looking at my notes, so I didn't catch if there was something that instigated the crowd or the officers, but somehow there was an effort to push that crowd back. Christina Gonzalez, let's go to you.
Yeah, so what happens is I believe some of the crowd got a little bit too close to the officers. And if you see on the left of your screen, that man with that weapon, that's a gas canister weapon. So that will send out gas. And so he threatened to do that, and the crowd backed out for a little bit. You can hear the people over here screaming at somebody who just threw a bottle because they don't want them to. Somebody from the crowd threw a bottle at the officers, and you can hear the people here saying, don't, no, no. As a matter of fact, some of the people here are going to go down there and try to stop them because they don't want this to go that route. It's a kind of an interesting dynamic seeing that. But yeah, somebody got a little too close. And they moved forward, but they backed off a little bit. I think it's just a matter of getting a little space between the officers and the people in front. But I don't see anybody getting arrested from this perspective. But again, this is the way, if they really want to move that crowd back, they're going to use the gas to move them back, which is really annoying. I have to say people are here prepared for it. Some are. You can see that there are people actually who brought some gas masks and stuff. And what's interesting is that some of those people were not the usual people I would have seen doing that. Not like the young people who are trouble. Again, I've seen a lot of people who are not that type bringing a little gas mask that they bought in Amazon because they want to be able to stay, not be able to create trouble, but they know that they're probably going to get gas because it has been used to move back the crowd. It's one way to do it without hurting people. So that's what you're looking, but you see the crowd moving back in. But at this point, if they keep on going back in, it's going to happen again because they're going to try to move them back. Although they're letting them have the street, Los Angeles is completely blocked by people. And the whole area around the federal enclosure is completely blocked off. as you can see from the helicopter. And in the middle of all this, I don't know if you can hear me, Al. Go to your left to the man with, there's a man with these yellow flowers. Oh, he stopped. But we actually have people who are entertaining the crowd. Let's see if he does it again, because in the middle of all this going on, there's a man doing tumbling flowers and another one who's tumbling. You know, it's kind of the scene as if it were a gathering at a party, but he's moving back now, the guy with the flowers, if we see him do it again. But for a long time, this has been a very kind of almost festive corner for some of the people who don't want to be involved in the screaming. But yes, right now what you do have is what you see in these things, which is the screaming. Somebody at some point is going to have to give. And the question is who and how.
Well,
if it goes long enough, people begin to disperse on their own, but we'll see.
There's a bit of leadership often with protests. I see somebody down there walking by handing out water bottles. There's another sign in the crowd that says first aid. You said the crowd had some kind of people of leadership kind of action saying, stop, don't throw bottles. Are you seeing a
I'll tell you, no, it's not a leadership. I gotta stop you, because this is the weird thing about this crowd. No, there isn't an organization leader at this point. Many of them came from much more organized crowds, but this is very organic. The people handing out water, I talked to them earlier, they just showed up. They just wanted to help. The people who were next to me trying to run down to stop the people who were throwing water bottles are not the leaders of this group. They're just here. So it's kind of like an organic situation. It really is a leaderless group. Maybe small groups have people, but it's not like just one person that is telling everybody what to do, which is why I can't tell you what they're going to do. Usually, if that were the case, they'd say, oh, we're going to march north on the street and down. That's not what's happening here. People are just coming, and as they see it on social media, more people come down.
So you're saying at Grand Park...
So it's interesting.
Yeah, at Grand Park, when they had the news conference or the rally earlier, that was more organized with leadership, and this is kind of the spillover?
Yes, very much so. The people that you see here, somewhere in Grand Park, somewhere in Olvera Street, a large contingent was a group of students who started a rally here at 11. So it's a different people. It's not like one leader telling all these people what to do. We've seen it kind of evolve and grow this way, but it's not. No, it's very organic. It really is. Let's see to the right over here what's going on, because that group over there with the flags. Somebody's trying to talk to somebody. Somebody's trying to they were trying to approach some of the National Guardsmen to talk to them, but I don't think that's going to happen. And in some of these groups, you'll see somebody trying to coordinate. Hey, can we do this? Can we do that? But no, nothing that I see here that is very organized. Not on this end of things. Maybe on the other side, but not here. Completely organic.
Christina, obviously the issue of illegal immigration is a complicated one that's nuanced, that has a whole lot of feelings on it. What are the people that you're talking to, and I know people have different perspectives, think should happen if somebody is here illegally? And do they think that itself is wrong?
So let me repeat, because I have a lot of noise. You want to get a sense of what people here think if somebody's in this country illegally?
Yeah, what
they
should,
think
what
about
should,
that.
what
I think
should
the majority
happen
of the
to
people
them?
around
Because
me say
there are people that are watching this that feel, okay, if you're here illegally, the ICE has a legal right to deport you, and they're just doing their jobs, and it's wrong to try to stop them from doing their jobs. What do these folks say?
Well, I'm not trying to talk to some people, but I will give you the sense. It's a very complicated question. There is a difference. There are the people who are going to tell you everybody should open borders. That's one end of the spectrum. But I think what has drawn so many people here right now...
Right there,
the man over there?
Yeah, he's a big social media star.
What's his name?
I think Hassan Piker.
Oh, so you're looking at Hassan. Thank you very much. Hassan Piper is a big social media star, and that's people are going up to him.
Hassan's
But
been
I'm
a
not sure
frequent
if it
guest
is.
on
But
our
it looks
show
like
before.
him.
He is a big social media star.
But we get a lot of people from social media coming and going, taking pictures. Back to your question.
Yeah.
I think that the anger in the majority of people is, if suddenly tomorrow they said, okay, we're going to close borders and we're not going to let in people illegally, that's one thing. Going after people who've been here for 30 years and have been allowed to stay and create lives, who are our neighbors, a lot of people have a problem with that. I don't know. Let me ask around. Can I talk to you? Are you here?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from New Jersey, but I've been living here for about a year and a half.
Okay, so this gentleman is talking to us. You're looking at the picture, but I see you here. My anchors were asking for the people who are here for the protest. What brings you here? The rally to protest?
The rally, the lack of due process, the rounding up people at their jobs, mostly, at schools, like taking parents away from their kids' graduations. That's a step too far, in my opinion.
Now, when they say, well, these people just entered illegally yesterday, does that change your mind at all?
I'm not so sure. I agree that there should be, border control has a job to do. Mm-hmm. But I think you were saying earlier that people who have been here for 10, 20, 30 years making lives, those people should be given opportunity for citizenship rather than just put in a detention center and sent away.
You see it? And what I'm hearing from this, thank you so much for talking to us. What I'm hearing from him, I hear a lot. And keep in mind, look, I have covered immigration, which is a much more complicated issue that I would even pretend to try to fix. But I'll tell you this. I have been through 2 rounds of pardons and letting people stay here. And then they do that, and then they do nothing else. And then they expect people to suddenly understand why in one administration suddenly they want to close everything down. This problem is a problem not of this administration or the past administration or the administration before. This has been going on for many, many years, and every administration passes it to the next one. And there's, and yes, there'll be the pardons, there'll be this for a little bit, but honestly, it's not fixed. And until people start thinking long term, how are we going to deal with this? Not just closing the border and kicking out everybody who's been here either, which is the other extreme. When we're honestly ready for that discussion, then perhaps something can be done. But it's our own fault that we are where we're at, because nobody's wanted to really deal with it. And when you suddenly deal with it with no holds bar, it's people some people anyway have a hard time swallowing that.
The last time.
So there's our guy. He's doing the entertainment back here. So yeah, we're seeing that people are trying to keep the crowd happy and light and the perimeter of it, and just keep things light. But still, again, in the front of the crowd, you see that they're getting a little closer and closer and closer, and hopefully it won't turn into anything. But that answers your question. Let me see if anybody else here wants to. You're a young man. Is it okay if I talk to you? All right. What's your first name?
Victor Montiel.
Victor. And are you from here, from LA area?
Yeah.
Okay. So talk to me about, as you see this crowd, what's going through your heart and what brings you here? Talk to me. How old are you, first of all? Because you're pretty young.
Right now I'm 19. I'm a college student. I'm doing the same thing what you're doing journalism.
Oh, so you guys are doing the journalism for your school. Okay. So talk to me about what goes through your heart when you're doing this and what you're seeing here.
I see that we're documenting what the struggle of the people are and what people are facing through decades of, dehumanization in the sense of way. And I feel like it's understanding each other as people. Seeing this is empowering and it's good. To get seeing the both sides and see how this area of Los Angeles, how people come all over Orange County, San Fernando Valley, Santa Clarita, Palmdale, and they come to one area to support. Yeah. And now you don't only see one race of people, you see blacks, you see whites, and that's what's beautiful. And what I think is really important right now is having more people united instead of, oh, you voted for this guy, you voted for this, or you're this. No, we're all the same. We all bleed at the end of the day.
Now, I gather you may have family members who may have at some point come into this country illegally. I don't know if they have.
Yeah.
I'm asking, okay. How's your family doing with this? Because I know all my friends are terrified. They don't want to send kids to school. Parents don't want to go to work. People I know. But you tell me what your perspective.
My perspective, you can't really do nothing about it and can't really be fearing. Because at the end of the day, it is what it is.
We're okay. You're with Fox?
No, with Channel 11, the local.
Okay. I'm sorry. I saw the Fox and
Are
Yeah.
you sure you're not with Fox?
No, I'm not with the network. No, but okay.
She's not. Yeah. Okay. No, I thought.
No, that's okay. No, it's okay, and I understand that. And that is an understandable.
Okay, thank you.
No, it's an understandable question because a lot of people
Christina,
don't
we're
like
gonna
the
take
point
it
of view
back
of the Fox
here.
network. That's understandable.
Christina, we're going to take it back to you. We've got a news conference with several mayors from different parts of Southern California community cities. We're going to go to that news conference.
Yeah, and just to not make that weird and awkward, we know that there are different perspectives, and some people love the Fox News channel, some people don't. We're technically owned by them, but we operate and do kind of our own thing, and we do our straight news journalism, and they do a good job of doing what they do, and we do what we do, and that is what it is.
And right here, the mayor of Huntington Park, Mayor Arturo Flores, at the podium right there. We're told he's joined by mayors from other surrounding communities and obviously law enforcement as well.
And these are some of the most heavily Latino cities in the country.
Getting ready to start. Good afternoon. I want to thank you guys all for joining me today. My name is Arturo Flores. I'm the mayor for the city of Huntington Park. I'm joined today by my colleagues from neighboring cities. I have the mayor, Rita Soto, from the city of Linwood. I have the mayor, Elizabeth Alcantar, from the city of Cudahy. And I'm also joined by my colleagues, Vice Mayor Eddie Martinez, Councilmember Jonathan Sanabria, Councilwoman Nancy Martiz, and Councilwoman Karina Macias, as well by our own Chief of Police, Cosme Lozano. I want to thank you guys for joining us here today. Not only as a mayor, but also as a citizen of this country who fought in 2 wars, and as a resident that understands the pulse of our community, hardworking families, strong neighborhoods, and a city that believes in fairness and dignity. This city is aware of the presence of immigration and customs enforcement agents that conducted an operation this morning at approximately 7:30 in the morning, 3040 Slauson Avenue. As of now, the city has not received any confirmation of who was arrested, how many individuals were arrested, or where they were taken. We're unable to confirm any of that. I was part of the LA County's meeting that took place where they said that they will be conducting operations of this nature for the next 30 days. The reason for this press conference, and we're calling it, is to denounce the actions that are being taken by the federal government. I want to make it very clear. The Trump administration's immigration policy was centered around public safety. The actions that we're seeing take place not only in Los Angeles, but throughout the region are counterintuitive to that narrative. What we're seeing is arbitrary enforcement of anybody that essentially looks or might be Latino in areas where they might be trying to find work or employment. With that being said, this morning there was a graduation. Just to give you an example of the type of fear that this sows. Miles Elementary was graduating at HP High School. Very quickly, rumors started spreading that ICE was outside. The auditorium erupted into chaos. Families that were supposed to be celebrating one of their child's achievements, a milestone, was turned into a horror and terrifying experience with the fear that they might not be able to spend the next day or continue to be a part of their family. That's the type of situations that our community is dealing with, and that's the type of the reason why we're standing up, myself as a mayor, and condemning these types of actions. I do want to highlight that these types of actions also sow division between law enforcement and our residents. I'm going to be inviting the Chief of Police to come up here. He has a message that will be conveyed in English and Spanish to our community members regarding the relationship between the community and law enforcement. I'm inviting now Chief Cosme Lozano.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. My name is Cosme Lozano. I am the Huntington Park Chief of Police, and I just want to reassure the community and send a message that the Huntington Park Police Department does align with state law. We are not federal agents. We are local police officers. We do not enforce federal law, nor do we assist federal agents in immigration enforcement. We work very hard at maintaining trust with our community members. We never concern ourselves, our police officers never concern themselves with the immigration status of any resident in our community. I do plead with members of the community, if you are going to exercise your constitutional rights, to do so in peaceful protest and to not engage in any infractionary or criminal activity. Any concerns can be directed to the police department, or if anybody wants to report any criminal activity or anything that concerns them, obviously call our dispatch center, and our police officers and dispatchers will be happy to help you with that. En español les quiero reforzar a los miembros de la comunidad que el Departamento de Policía obedece las leyes de California. No somos agentes federales,
we've been
somos
listening to this
oficiales.
press conference. Obviously, it's important for them to communicate in Spanish in these cities. There's a large Spanish-speaking population as well. And this has been part of the question and challenge and debate about what this sanctuary policy is all about. A lot of folks in local law enforcement are fans of the idea of sanctuary policy, essentially because they want to be able to win the trust of the local community and be able to work with people who may be in this country illegally but are victims of a crime or are witnesses to a crime or involved some way, so that there can be more of a collaborative effort on that front, and that people are not living in the shadows. There are other members of law enforcement who feel like if they were able to cooperate with ICE and if the state honored ICE detainer requests, that it would actually make people safer, and that some of this action could be done behind bars instead of being done in the streets like these folks are talking about. Let's listen in now.
It's really, really sad to see all the situations that are happening here for our residents, for our communities. I just coming from one of the graduations that we have over there in Linwood, one of the high schools, and we see the fear of our families, and it's so emotional and difficult to see all this. And we were like telling them, yes, everything is okay, it's going to be okay. The district is working diligent to be sure that everything is okay. We are patrolling the areas around. Our sheriff department is also helping to be sure that everything is everybody's safe. Just in the morning, we received a call and residents pictures that they are ICE stopped by Plaza Mexico, just only come in and out. And also 1 hour ago, other residents and also our staff members from the city saw those trucks patrolling also Martin Luther King and Long Beach Boulevard. That means they are around our community right now. I don't know if they are checking to be on certain points later on, but it's really disturbing our community, and especially now that our residents are celebrating the milestone with their kids, with their students. Then this is so difficult, but I want the community to know that we're here to protect them, that we are here, we're working diligent to be sure that everything is safe, and we're gonna try our best to be sure they are on the best situation right now. Soy la concejal de la alcaldesa de la ciudad de Linwood, Rita Soto.
We are hearing from mayors from Huntington Park and Linwood right now, as Alex mentioned. Some of the neighboring cities to Los Angeles who are heavily Latino, people who are watching perhaps from other parts of the country or the world. We should note that Los Angeles is a city amongst many smaller cities. Think Santa Monica. Huntington Park is one of them. It is to the east of LA. And these are communities that are very concerned about this immigration policy that's being carried out right now by the Trump administration. And we think of many of them who've been here for years and years and years, living amongst the community with their children in school. Many have their children that were born in this country.
Yeah.
And you heard from the superintendent from LA Unified talking today saying, I know that many parents are thinking about where their kids would go if they're detained and should they attend graduations. And he even said, if you feel like it is unsafe for you. You can watch the graduation online. A reminder now that there are graduations happening of all sorts with elementary and junior high and high schools happening in these various cities across Southern California, not just the city of LA.
Right, because there are 87 cities in LA County alone. 87 cities, 87 different mayors. I always hate when we refer to the mayor because there are a lot of mayors. And you're seeing some of them speaking right now. And the city of Los Angeles itself is about 50% Latino. The state of California is about 40% Latino. The state of California has more undocumented folks than anywhere else in the country, some 2.4 million people who are living here illegally. And so you think about that number is a significant one. And many of them have kids that are American citizens or family members that are, and that are in families with different immigration statuses. Let's listen in to more of this.
Being here today, my name is Elizabeth Alcantar-Loza. I am the mayor for the city of Cudahy, and I'm here to lend my support to our Southeast communities. Our Southeast communities are under attack. They are seeing what is happening in neighboring cities, and I think for a lot of our folks, the fear is the point. Mi nombre es Elizabeth Alcantar-Loza. Soy la alcaldesa de la ciudad de Cudahy y estoy aquí para prestar mi apoyo a nuestras comunidades de a un lado que están viendo un ataque en nuestra comunidad.
They are speaking in Spanish because much of their constituents might be only Spanish speaking. It's important for them to get the information out. This is the third mayor we're hearing from, as she mentioned, the Southeast community. So again, for reference, if you've never been to Los Angeles or you don't really know the layout, think of the 10 freeway and head east from the city of Los Angeles, and you'll hit a lot of these communities to the north or to the south or farther east. So we're noting we've been hearing from Mayor Karen Bass throughout these 4 days of protests, but very important, Alex, to consider and think of these smaller communities.
I see Matthew Seedorf, our reporter, looks like he's ready to go. And Matthew, I don't know if you can hear us. Where are you at as we check in with you for the first time today? We can't hear you yet. Hopefully we can get that mic turned on somehow.
Check, check, 1, 2.
There we go.
Yep.
Now we got you.
We hear you. Yes.
You got us?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're at Los Angeles and Temple, also outside the federal building where I believe Christina Gonzalez is live. You can see the crowds just coming in and almost feel the energy building. We've been seeing people up here at Los Angeles and Temple doing donuts in the street. And then if you look out here, this is the federal building right now. The National Guard is protecting the steps with, it looks like, federal police next to them. I don't know if you can see, but further down off of Los Angeles Street towards the 101, there's a line of local police, it looks like, trying to prevent people from going towards the 101 this afternoon, like what we saw yesterday. But again, you have this massive crowd outside the federal building. We've seen people getting dropped off, lots of people wearing masks, they're carrying milk jugs, prepping for whatever that they're prepping for, just in case there is more clashes with police tonight. But we see someone juggling right now. But again, this car, look, if you look at Los Angeles Street and Temple, this is the car we've been seeing doing donuts in the intersection here for the last 30 minutes or so. Actually, someone's climbing this light pole right now on Temple Street. So you can just feel an energy in the air of uncertainty after the last few nights of what we've experienced across LA, as this person again climbing a light pole here, and there's no local police at this intersection where we're standing right now. So,
well, we do know on the other side.
Are outside the federal building.
Yeah.
On the other side, the other side from you.
Is there anywhere we could find a cop nearby? Okay.
The box right there on the left.
Yeah. So I noticed the
we
way.
Do see police.
Yeah, I noticed the way they have you set up today. It looks like you got a bunch of media colleagues. Is this sort of an intentional thing to kind of keep everybody safe in their quarters with their security? I mean, is it a different setup than what we've seen in terms of just the sort of chaos of the previous couple days?
Yeah, I think it's just people trying to stay safe after what we've seen. You know, you don't want to get too close to to the action where you could get hit by a rubber bullet or a rock that's being thrown from protesters towards police as well. As it looks like, yeah, we have people right now, look at this, dropping off food and water. I mean, preparations are underway for what could be a long night right now.
Interesting to see that. Christina Gonzalez was saying that this is not an organized rally like we saw earlier in the day, where you have the different organizations that are backing some of these protests. This is more, she said, organic, and maybe that's what you're seeing there. I'm hoping that is...
What are those boxes?
Are those masks of some sort? Are those gas masks?
That doesn't look like food.
Yeah,
and
those
water.
are...
Looks like masks.
Yeah, no, those are masks. Yeah, so people are prepping for some sort of altercation with police as we speak.
Yeah, because, this is a different scene than what
this intersection, like I said.
Yeah. I mean, we saw
at this intersection, like I said, there's no local police. We've been seeing the burnouts.
A very different scene. And are those hats that you wear that are more like helmets? I mean, this is a worrying sight. I mean, Christina's site, which is like very close by, she was describing a festive atmosphere, and it looked like a lot of folks, including a lot of older folks, who were there for the right reasons.
This guy's tagging the sidewalk, right?
You know, this is troublemakers. You probably don't put on a mask unless you have a plan of not wanting somebody to see your face. And so this is concerning.
Well, the woman who was handing out the masks, you see her quite clearly there in that beige T-shirt. She's not covering her face at all, so I would love to hear from her as to what this is about. Alex, you do bring up the fact that this could be very concerning. It is a Monday and not the weekend, so you're wondering how many people are wanting to stick around through the evening. Matthew, do you get a feel at all for this crowd? You've been out there for the past couple days.
Yeah, it reminds me of when we got to Paramount on Saturday. Here we have another person doing a little bit of a burnout there in the intersection, where you can feel an energy in the air. It's hard to describe, where it just feels like something's going to happen, and you're waiting for it to happen. And you can look around, you see the National Guard in front of the federal building, but as far as this intersection where we're seeing all this take place, there's no local police to be seen.
Yeah.
And we have people handing out masks and gas masks, and we just saw people graffitiing the sidewalk right in front of this truck, and we've seen people doing burnouts in the street. There's no local law enforcement around.
Let us clarify, because we've been showing a wide shot and from a different angle, a whole lot of officers on the other side of the federal building. Almost behind you, and perhaps the visual is obstructed from your point of view, but I can tell you there are many, many, many LAPD cars and officers there that have staged. They are blocking that freeway overpass, so protesters can't get on that overpass like they did yesterday and throw bricks or concrete or scooters down on law enforcement that was below that had cleared the 101 freeway. So perhaps they're not where you are, but there's a lot of them already positioned there. They're not getting caught off guard by a crowd gathered here.
So, I mean, that was quite a shot that we have there of these folks, and your photographer just gave us a great shot of the box that was left behind, which showed the brand of mask. I mean, it's not the kind of thing, thank you for seeing this there. It looks like a bionic shield is what that's called. I mean, that's not the kind of thing that you buy in bulk if you don't plan on doing something with it. And the fact that that's being handed out kind of like candy to everybody there gives you an indication that these folks probably plan to be here for a while, and they feel like they got to load up. I mean, that reminds me, Matthew, of when you were reporting at UCLA, and we had those tents set up by a lot of the folks that were anti-Israel, and they kind of were getting ready for potential battle at night too, based off of their gear.
Yeah, I remember back to that. They were setting up their encampment, right? So they were bringing in stuff for their tents, their camping equipment, and then you were seeing truckloads of food being dropped off. Now this time we have truckloads of masks being dropped off for whatever's to come later tonight. Like I said, again, you can feel an energy in the air of uncertainty and just kind of waiting for something to happen, whatever that is.
And Matthew, you can't see necessarily, unless you have a monitor there, the shot we just showed of all the law enforcement that is just to the other side of you, behind you. there is quite a presence. Now, I'm not sure why they don't have officers on this side of the federal building on Temple Street there, but behind you, they are there in force. Now, perhaps law enforcement will see the picture that we just showed there, as well as the other media that is there lined up there with you. And obviously, those people that were dropping off the masks, they weren't shy about showing their faces.
Yeah, no, they just showed up and they're still here. I mean, they're wearing a mask right now, but for the most part, they didn't seem like that was a big concern. I can see, like you're saying, I can see police in the distance.
Behind you.
Yeah, we can see them on the other side of the federal building down Temple Street over there.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
And they've been watching this take place. I mean, this has been going on for 30 minutes of the people doing the donuts and stuff on this street. But it seems like they're more worried about more violent issues than that at this point, anyway.
And we should also note, also sort of behind you, where the federal building is right there, where the crowd is behind you, the bulk of the crowd, you have the National Guard there and a lot of other officers there that are standing, that Christina Gonzalez has been showing us. Hard to see it in this picture, but right over your shoulder, there's a lot of law enforcement. There's a lot of National Guard members right there.
Yeah, and those National Guard members are really just focused on protecting that federal property. As far as going out beyond that, I don't think they have the jurisdiction at this point to really do crowd control. They're just in charge of protecting that federal building. It seems to me like it's going to be up to local police to how far this can go with the crowd and how far they're going to let it go. But again, yeah, it seems like the national police that we're seeing are just in charge of protecting the federal building.
So we are approaching the top of the hour. As we do, we are going to take a moment to reset here. We're also going to be welcoming viewers who are joining us on our sister station, Fox 11 Plus, who are used to joining us at this time of night. So as we do, we want to officially welcome you to the Fox 11 News at 5. And we start with breaking news here for the Fox 11 News at 5. Protesters rallying on the streets of downtown L.A. The anti-ICE demonstrations now in day number 4. We are seeing a large crowd in a standoff. We see the National Guard there at the top of your screen. This is at the Federal Building in downtown Los Angeles.
And we should note our reporter Matthew Seedorf is standing in an elevated spot right there. Right behind Matthew is the shot that you just saw with the National Guard, though. So let me set this up quickly before you go to you, Matthew. I'm Christine Devine here with Alex Michelson as we bring you this 5 o'clock news here at Fox 11.
Yeah, so the LAPD has declared a citywide tactical alert as we've seen hundreds of people gathering downtown. Even though it's called a citywide tactical alert, we have not seen major problems in other parts of the city. It seems like right now most of this focus is in downtown Los Angeles, and everywhere else is kind of business as usual. We have seen a battalion of 700 Marines are now being deployed. We learned that a battalion of 700 Marines now being deployed out of 29 Palms to LA to assist the National Guard. They are not supposed to be carrying out law enforcement role, but are tasked with protecting federal property and federal personnel. The president so far has not invoked the Insurrection Act, which would allow Marines to do law enforcement and potentially even immigration work. That has not been invoked, at least not yet. Governor Newsom blasting the move to bring the Marines here. He calls Marines heroes, but said, quote, they shouldn't be deployed on American soil facing their own countrymen to fulfill the deranged fantasy of a dictatorial president. Although I'm sure the president would say some of these folks are not their own countrymen. They're here illegally from other countries.
The LAPD responding. LAPD Chief Jim McDonald says he's not been given any formal notification about the Marines and said their arrival would present challenges for his officers. And now keep in mind, he was not also aware that there was going to be raids by ICE and Homeland Security. Neither was the mayor. They were not notified. They were not in coordination with the president on this.
But that's because there is a sanctuary policy and they don't coordinate with the administration by choice. So the administration says, we'd like to work with you. You have a policy that says that you can't, so we're not telling you because we can't tell you.
U.S. officials say around 1,000 National Guard members are here on the ground in L.A. Governor Newsom says only about 300 are currently deployed. The governor's also suing the Trump administration over the deployment of the Guard, which the president authorized under Title 10 of the U.S. Code. So let's talk about our crews there that are on the ground monitoring all of this, the protests downtown on this fourth day. Reporter Christina Gonzalez live there on the scene in front of the federal building. Christina?
That's right. We're on the Los Angeles side of the federal building. Let me show you the scene here. This is on the opposite side of where Matt is. And the crowd here is actually an interesting dynamic that is happening. The crowd here has gotten smaller. Some of them have gone over to the area where the crowd that Matt is in the middle of is at, because that area, they started having some issues. There's word that they may be getting ready to try to move them back. And the question is, will they all be pushed onto here to Los Angeles? Remember, keep in mind, all these crowds are surrounding the federal building. This has been so far a very peaceful crowd. We have not had any issues. Many of the people here came from earlier rallies. One, the SEIU, the union rally over at Grand Park, and then there was a large group of students here who've been rallying and protesting since 11 o'clock. But so far things have been very quiet. But you do see a line of, they have the big sign, California National Guard, and the feds, in other words, just blocking entrance to this building. So far, it's been very much in your face, but no attempts to do anything beyond that. Very peaceful. At some point, the question is, if they start moving people from that area where Matt is, which is Aliso, will they end up over here, or will this crowd be moved over there, or will they be allowed to disperse on their own, which is unlikely at this point. But we're going to have to see what happens. Again, we have the same. A lot of people, though, have left from a few hours ago. I think a lot of families, they say it's 5 o'clock, it's time to go home. And now it's just a different kind of crowd, but there's still quite a few people out here who were at the earlier rallies. But again, it seems to be shifting, as it does at this time. People have to get home to the kids and so forth. But we still have a good, on this side, I'd say about 100 people maybe in front of the building, and then around them a good 50, 100, but it changes because they're moving back and forth between the two crowds. It's very organic. There's no leadership moving these people. So we'll have to see what happens. So from Los Angeles Street in downtown Los Angeles, back to you, Christine.
We see the officers in the darker uniform, a little movement there on the platform there where you see the National Guard. Are those also National Guard, or what agency is that?
Federal. That's a federal agency. Remember, the federal building is being guarded by the federal agency. There may be some sheriffs somewhere in there that sometimes, but the majority of the people in front of that, you see that line, and that is by design. They are making a point that we, the feds, are going to protect this building. They know that they're on cameras and that they know that this is what they have to do. When I was out walking the perimeter earlier, I was told that LAPD, the local law enforcement, will take care of the streets. But the entrance to the buildings that are federal buildings is going to be in charge of the National Guard and any kind of federal authority at this point.
All right, Christina, we are watching the scene there, and you're right, it does look like a much thinner
Something
crowd.
is going on right behind us. Yeah, I smell the smoke. I think somebody released some kind of smoke device. Let's see. Let's take a look over here. Let's walk a little bit this way. Did you get to see what happened? No? Let's see. So a lot of people are moving this way and moving back. If you can guard that spot for me, please. I'm not going to, yes. We're not going to move very far away, but what you see are people moving back. I think that there was, I don't smell tear gas.
Christina?
I do smell some kind of gas now. Yes?
Why don't we take it back here? We've got another reporter there on the ground. Matthew Studorf, what do you see?
Yeah, so we're at Temple and Los Angeles Street. I don't know if you can hear police. It sounds like they're wanting people to disperse. Okay.
Sorry about the
yeah,
language.
there's someone talking. Someone's talking. It's there. But sorry about that. So here at Temple and Los Angeles, we did see what looked like a fight. We saw a guy get thrown to the ground and some punches being thrown. The crowd rushed in trying to break it up, and they did. They did break it up. But then we saw Los Angeles police just run this direction. And here is where we are now, where you can see police on Temple Street making their presence known. We saw lots of protesters just run and scatter. But right now, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens as police look at the protesters and protesters look at the police here at Temple in Los Angeles.
Yeah, by the way, we're going to do our best to try to keep, the language PG, but sometimes we can't control it when these people, especially, illegally graffiti places and hold up signs and things like that. So we apologize if there's an F word here or there. We're going to do our best to try to keep that out, but sometimes it slips in because there's a lot going on out there tonight.
Well, that explains a little bit of the commotion that Christina was talking about. We do have our 2 reporters who are there very much close to that scene in different spots of the federal building. It is a much thinner crowd than it was this weekend, as you might expect, being a Monday. Matthew Cedar, if we see you there, do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, like I've been saying earlier, I mean, you can feel a sort of tension, and then it erupted where there was that fight. Then police ran in. We did mention just about 20 minutes ago we saw a car show up, a truck full of gas masks. It just seems like there's something brewing, I guess you could say. Right now, though, again, police just kind of here watching the situation as looks like some protesters are yelling at them, but. This is what we're looking at right now.
And we have some clarity on those masks. They're called bionic shield, and I initially thought they were gas masks coming off the car that they were being handed out, as Alex said, like candy to people in the crowd. We did a little research there. They cost about $34 to $64, and they are protective masks, kind of like what you might see in a workshop. It kind of protects you from a chemical splash or sparks or debris, but it is not a gas mask.
Here
it's meant for like mechanics or people that are doing body work on cars, and I don't think they're going to be doing body work on cars tonight. Do you see any cars coming in for body work tonight, Matthew?
No, no cars for body work here tonight. We did just see another box of someone handing out more masks. So again, like, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen tonight, but it does seem like protesters here are preparing for something to happen, some sort of altercation, possibly with police.
I'd be curious also, and I know it's hard to get in there, but who's funding this? Who's paying for these masks that are $34 to $64 each? Who's handing all this stuff? Where are these boxes coming from?
I just saw some rocks being thrown, and that is a great question you mentioned about who's paying for those masks to have them just show up by the truckload. But we did just see some people throwing stuff. You hear some people in the crowd not agreeing with it, telling them to calm down. But again, you can feel an energy right now that's hard to describe.
Yeah, I saw a woman kind of pushing somebody back. Is that her right there? She's kind of pushing this guy, kind of saying, no, no. We also saw that with Christina Gonzalez as well, who said her location, although it was an organic crowd, was staying peaceful, and that when somebody threw a water bottle, the crowd reacted like, no, that's not where we want to go. That was this specific crowd. These are not the people necessarily who have caused so much damage that we saw yesterday. Bizarre behavior there, somebody acting very strange there and being videotaped, as we do in this day and age. But right now, what you saw when you described somebody intervening with somebody who was starting to kind of cause some unrest is what Christina Gonzalez also described as well.
Yeah, it does seem like there's a segment of the crowd that doesn't want to see the violence, doesn't want to see the unrest, and then there are, those people in the crowd that's what they're here for, right? Agitators. They want to see the disruption.
Yeah, and we're noting this social media era of people wanting to document everything, including their own activities, which also means law enforcement says, hey, we're watching too. There's a lot of videos out there. They're documenting the actions of people, and they're saying that for some of the most severe of the agitators who caused the most damage, we're going to be trying to track you down and make arrests. And they have made arrests yesterday. So we're watching the scene here, and describe for me, Matthew, the cars there. Is that just the public trying to drive down the street there, caught up amidst these protests?
Yeah, it is the public. I mean, you've got to imagine. I mean, most people in LA, across the world, know what's been happening in here the last few days, and especially in the evening, nighttime. To guess, you would imagine that a lot of these people are either coming here to be a part of the protest or to see what's going on. Just based on what we're seeing, we saw lots of people getting dropped off earlier. Right now, there are kind of two segments of this crowd. Again, where Christina Gonzalez was outside the federal building, and over here at Los Angeles and Temple Street, as these demonstrators are now face to face with police.
Yeah, and it may be that they are looking for a conflict tonight. Matthew,
as we tend to see in scenarios like this, the people that are definitely looking for a conflict.
Yep. So we see that stat on your screen, 700 Marines deployed to assist National Guard. That order coming today, something that the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, announced. We do not expect that the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, announced. We do not expect them to be in place today. They're leaving from 29 Palms and will be there sometime soon. We don't have an exact date or time for when we expect them to be in place. Let's see what happens with this car that's trying to come through. So we expect at around 5:15, which is about 2 minutes from now, a press conference from the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, and the chief of police of Los Angeles, Jim McDonnell, to talk about where we're at and where we're going. Last night, we had a couple opportunities to talk with her, and she really tried to get the message out that violence is not the answer, and that there would not be tolerance for violence. We'll see if both the mayor and the police chief maybe have a different strategy tonight for handling all of this or not. But as soon as that press briefing gets underway, we will take you there live. We'll see if it starts on time. In the meantime, we continue to look at these pictures from downtown LA. A big change from yesterday as we look at the freeway, wide open and not much traffic in downtown LA at this time, which is strange because usually you would see a whole lot of traffic at this time. Christina talked about the fact that a whole lot of people are trying not to get near downtown LA, including people who work there because of what we're seeing today. It is clear that law enforcement has made a tactical decision and a tactical priority to stop people from getting on the freeway, to protect transit for the people of Southern California tonight, and they have been effective so far at doing that. We have not seen images of widespread violence today with these demonstrations that have happened during the day. Sometimes when it gets later at night and some of the more legitimate protesters start to head home to their families, then sometimes later at night the more anarchist people start to act up. It is worrying that we just saw a whole bunch of heavy-duty masks being handed out to everybody that wanted one en masse. Clearly, it looked like the folks out there are preparing for the possibility of conflict. That may be just to protect themselves, and they're not trying to be the aggressor, but they're there in case they need them. But that's not the kind of thing that you would buy, or not the kind of thing that you would want to have unless you were sort of preparing for that sort of thing. And we see a lot of folks covering their faces, which is something that President Trump has talked about he would want to make illegal at protests like this. Not quite sure how you would do that legally. But the fact that people are covering their faces does make it harder for law enforcement to find people. And there are people who may be in this country illegally, who may not want their faces to be shown, who are wearing masks for that reason, although usually they're not wearing the heavy-duty bionic shields. For that reason, you would probably wear more of a surgical mask or something.
Noting with that bionic shield mask, which is really a protective mask that you often see in a workshop, you may not be too protected from gas. It might give you a bit of a buffer, but if there's going to be gas, there's no protection around the nose and the mouth. It's kind of like just a thicker, wider, fuller shield in a way that kind of covers, gives the full face and protection from, as we heard, quote, chemical splashes or debris.